This is iDesign Lab, a podcast where creativity and curiosity meet style and design. Curator of interiors, furnishings, and lifestyles. Hosted by Tiffany Woolley, an interior designer and a style enthusiast, along with her serial entrepreneur husband, Scott. iDesign Lab is your ultimate design podcast, where we explore the rich and vibrant world of design and its constant evolution in style and trends. Today, on the iDesign Lab, we're joined by Sarah Trapp, an award-winning interior designer, global travel blogger, and HGTV's Flea Market Flip champion. She's the founder of Funcycled, known for transforming historic homes and upcycled pieces into soulful, sustainable designs. Featured in Country Living and House Beautiful, Sarah brings a faith-rooted, trauma-informed approach to design that helps people uncover beauty in the old, bring peace to their spaces, and live with greater purpose.
Welcome to the iDesign Lab podcast. Today we are excited to have a great conversation with Sarah Trapp with Funcycled. What a fun name. How did you come up with your name? But before that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Sarah Trapp, of Funcycled. And when I was thinking about starting a business, I knew I would want it to be something that we had fun in as a family and that we upcycled because we cared a lot about recycling even before it was cool.
Wow.
So yeah. My husband was the guy who we'd go on family vacation and he would bring home a bag of recycled things that needed to be recycled in New York that wouldn't be recycled in other states. So we were that family. So that's why I went with Funcycled, because it would be upcycling and having fun while we did it. But a lot of times people ask me if I redo bikes, and I'm like, no, it's not a bike shop. That's not what we do. Yeah.
So, obviously Funcycled has shifted or evolved into a design business, and has lots of design philosophies. So tell us what defines Funcycled.
Yeah, so we started as a furniture repurposing company actually in 2012, and I would just redo old furniture and upcycle it and then teach people how to redo things themselves on our website, on our blog. And over the years, it has evolved. We started doing kitchen cabinet, painting, and light facelifts because we found you can repurpose so much and still give yourself a brand new kitchen at a fraction of the price. So it's upcycling and reuse, which it was important to our core values. And then as I was delivering furniture with my husband, people would say, "Oh, Sarah, can you help me design this space?" And I would always say, "No, I'm not really a designer. I design things that I paint and create, but I'm not really a designer." And fast forward, we went on Flea Market Flip, and when we were on that show, it prompted us to get a storefront. And when we had a storefront, because we use the money from that show to get a storefront. So when we had our own storefront, people kept coming in and saying, "Oh, why won't you design my house?" And I decided I'm just going to stop saying no. I'm going to start saying yes, even if I don't feel comfortable. Right.
Embrace it.
And yes. And I went into the first design client ever, and I said, "Anne, why did you pick me to design? Why couldn't you just hire any other designer?" And she said, "Because I know you, and I know your heart and your brand, and I know that you'll take something old and make it better, not just replace it." And I thought, that really is what sets me apart from other designers. I really love to take old homes. We have a lot of old homes in upstate New York.
Yes.
Mine is 1802. And
wow.
So, kind of redoing and reuse without gutting everything is really important to us. And it's important to me in the sense of the history of the home, in the environment, and in the storytelling of our clients. So that's just what I did with her. I kept good bones in her house, and then I updated room by room. And now I think I'm done with every single room. I think I just finished, 6 years later, another room for her. And I think that's the last one. Yeah.
So you started with furniture, correct?
I did. Yeah.
So refurbishing furniture. So did you actually physically do that work, or did you have other craftsmen do that work?
Oh, no, I did it all. So I started in January of 2012, and I had 2 little kids, a 2 and a 3-year-old, and I just worked every nap that they had.
Unbelievable.
And I worked every night, usually 8 to 12. I am one of those people that doesn't require a lot of sleep, so I could
That's
kinda-
helpful.
yeah, I could push through. And within 4 months, so by April of 2012, I was making the same as my job. And so I quit my job and did Funcycled repurposing full time. About a year and a half after that, my husband John joined me. And that's when we could expand into custom built furniture, kitchen remodels, and more custom built items. But
So when you're taking a piece of furniture, you're refinishing the wood, you're reupholstering it?
yeah, so we mostly repair, paint, and alter. So for instance, like we had this one project recently where, those old roll top oak desks that are like
Yes.
orangey yellow,
Yes.
pretty ugly.
Yes.
So we had a design client. I was working with them on interior design, but they had one of those. But it was in one of their family. It was a family heirloom. It was
Piece.
I believe it was the husband's grandmother's, and they did not want to use it because it was so ugly. And I said, well, why don't we repurpose it? We found this nook that they had in a sitting room that was 5 feet wide and about 3 or 4 feet deep. We took the desk and custom built it into that section where it became a bar. So we took the roll top section that normally slides down and we made that the backsplash. We painted it black. We added a copper sink and rinse station and refrigerator. We built in a mini fridge, a cooling station for food, hanging wine racks from sections that were taken from the top. So we repurposed every part of the desk and you wouldn't even know. I mean, it's just so beautiful. So they get to keep that family heirloom, but at the same time, it doesn't look like an old, outdated piece of furniture.
But that's not what you're talking about is a real craft.
Yeah,
I mean, a
that's
real
right.
craftsmanship. And
And
here
a
in South
vision.
and here in South Florida,
We're not known for craftsmanship.
no, and it's difficult to find, talented craftsmen that can do those kind of things. We're typically having to go to North Carolina or California to some companies and people that we know. I mean, what's your background that taught you or gave you those skills? Because that's quite interesting and skills to have.
Yeah, so from an artistic standpoint, I was homeschooled from 3rd grade till the end. And back then, you really couldn't be in a lot of things that public school kids could be in. Like we couldn't join sports teams,
Right.
at least in New York. I don't know if that's all over the nation, but in New York, we couldn't. So my parents poured
Created
into
them.
whatever art. Well, no, they let us pick. So we all had
Okay.
different things that we loved. I loved music, so I'm a pianist, but I also loved art. So I actually went to professional painting classes for years with an artist all through high school. And so that's how I learned color theory and how to do artistic finishes. And I could do that on furniture pieces. And the repair work, I just Googled the heck out of it.
Wow.
And learned that as I went. But then my husband joining me helped a lot because he could really customize pieces in ways that I could dream it up because I think in pictures, but I don't know that I could do all the carpentry that he does. But he went to school to be a chef at Johnson & Wales University, but he paid his way through college working for a master craftsman. So
Wow. So
he knows how
all
to do
your
the carpentry
backgrounds
side.
just kind of collided and created such a unique brand.
Yes,
So you,
exactly.
so you ended up opening a storefront, selling pieces that you were, repairing and restoring.
Yes. Yep. So it was primarily furniture, some artwork, but primarily furniture. And we would just repurpose and also do custom orders. So people would bring in their furniture pieces too. But we had a lot that we would do artistic finishes on of our own, design, and then we would resell it.
So where would you do your sourcing? I mean, obviously upcycled, I know with your flea market flip and everything like that, there's that group of sourcing. But do you go to shops? Do you travel? Where do you get the bulk of enough things to fill the shop and keep your inventory?
So when I first started, I primarily bought on Craigslist. Remember Craigslist?
Oh,
Was that a
yeah.
thing for you guys?
Okay.
And then after that, Facebook
That's
Marketplace.
smart. Okay.
Yeah. And I did that primarily because I knew the type of items I could sell. And it wasn't, sometimes when you go to a flea market, you kind of just hope you run across something.
Right.
And not that I don't love a good flea market. But if I'm doing a store, I know I only have a wall this big to be able to fit a piece. So I have to be measurement specific. So a lot of that was in the beginning days, right? Now that I'm more well known in the local market, people come to me a lot to ask me if they could donate their furniture, actually. And so then we just started taking donations as they came in, and we had a storage space, and it was always full. People care about the story a lot, so I would share the story of their piece as I redid it. And they didn't want to just throw out their grandmother's table, even if they didn't have space for it anymore.
Right.
So
they wanted to know it would go to somebody who could appreciate it.
Exactly. And they could say, yeah, we may make $100 on Facebook Marketplace with this, but if you take it and redo it, we know it'll be loved for years to come and cherished by a new family, you know? So that's kind of how we get our pieces now.
What a special philosophy. So are you still doing so much of the craftsmanship yourself with your husband, or do you now have a team that assists you? Or
yeah, we have a team. I would say there was a distinct moment. I was delivering a hutch, you know, the kind of hutches that don't come apart.
Right.
All one piece. Yeah.
The old-fashioned
3-story exterior staircase that was metal in a freezing rain storm in Saratoga. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing this business wrong if I am still lugging hutches up exterior first floor buildings, you know? And I got in the car that day and I said to John, I'm done delivering. Like, I have to set this off to give this off to someone else. And that became where we started building a team. John's very hands-on still as far as the build process goes. We do have a team with us as well. I'm more on the design side.
Right.
So I'll pick out what we want it to look like and how. And a lot of it now we incorporate within design. So I primarily repurpose furniture if they're working with me on design.
So do you feel like now your main focus is design in including these special heirloom pieces?
Yes, I would say design is more my focus, even though we remodel about one kitchen a week and we do furniture in addition to that. My focus on this side is running the business and leading the design. And I have 2 people that work under me as well that do different parts of the design or the marketing for me. So,
what a beautiful organic story of the American dream. I mean, truly.
Truly.
So how did you land on the HGTV?
Okay.
Flea market flip, and you were a champion of the show?
We were, yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. The episode's called Happy Flipping Anniversary because the final day was on our actual anniversary. But it was funny because back in those days, remember how I said I really got no free time because, you know, anytime my kids are asleep, I'm working. So I'd have these special, like, late night movie time or show times with my friend Marcy, who lived nearby. We would put our kids to bed. We would eat brownies and ice cream and watch Flea Market Flip. And she said to me, you need to apply to be on the show. You are so talented. And I said, no, number 1, you don't get on a TV show unless you know someone. And number 2, if I lose nationally, this is my livelihood. Like, I can't go on TV and lose for what I do for a living. Most of the people on that show just do it for fun, you know? And she's like, just try. It's a no if you don't try. So it's another example of people kind of pushing me into a yes and me being so grateful for them seeing a potential in me that I didn't see it of myself.
Aww.
So I applied and then I didn't hear anything. And then 6 months later, they selected me and we went on.
So tell us more about that experience. So you get selected, and what's that whole process look like?
Yeah, so I knew it was a 30-minute show. I didn't know a lot about how it was going to happen or be recorded, but it ended up being 3 full days of recording for a 30-minute show. The first day you go in and you buy at a flea market. And the hard part about that is they're recording multiple couples or your partners for the competition. I don't know if you've ever seen the show, but I think there were 6 of us the day. 6 different partners, and we were all recording the same day because that makes sense. They want to get all the recording done at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when we did that, we were chosen to be the first team to be recorded. And I had like no TV experience other than the Rachel Ray show, which was, you know, just a quick blurb. But being on an actual TV show, I was like, what am I doing? And you have to make decisions. You have the 1 hour to shop, and it's a literal hour. And if you're in recording for a TV show, you know how much is cut. And so it feels like 10 minutes of shopping because you have to be like, hi, thank you, I'll buy it. Hi, thank you, I'll buy it from different angles. And it's just a really weird experience. And all the other teams, so within that 6, the first hour, the team 2 has an hour to shop and figure out what they want before they start recording. But we've had no time to pre-look at anything.
So what was your piece?
It was 3. We did Modern Americana, which we took an old ironing board and a tractor gear, and we welded the gear to stand up on its own and had the ironing board go out with mid-century modern legs to make a coffee table, like a artistic coffee table. Yeah.
And you had all this vision like on the fly like that? It's amazing.
Yeah. I had to just do it on the fly. I didn't have it you can't pre-plan because you don't know what you're going to find, right? I just knew our market was New York City, so it had to be small enough to fit a small apartment, and it had to be multifunctioning as much as it could be. So one of the challenges was a multifunction piece. And so everybody takes a trunk and makes it a coffee table, but we did a trunk where it was flipped on its side and it was a coffee table, but then we also had a base for it, and it turned into a secretary's desk. So it could either be a coffee table if you have company, or you pop it up and then the front flips down and you can write on it. So it could be 2 things in one in a small New York City apartment, And then what was the last one? We took an old electric telephone pole base for the subway system, and we added, have you ever seen the small cable spools, vintage cable spools?
Yes.
Where they would wrap cable inside it. We attached that to the top of it, drilled holes all the way around, and had like wine bottles that went in by the neck.
Oh, that's
and hung
cute.
Wine glasses between it. And so it was a stand-up wine bar / place for people to eat at if they had a party or whatever. And so I was so nervous, like redoing it. We were in our wheelhouse. We actually told our competition that they could have some of our guys during it because we could tell they were kind of like in over their heads on some of it. And we're like, we got this. So we felt good about that. But then cell day, I was panicking. I'm like, I can't lose on national television. Like, this is so embarrassing. And I called my brother, who's been one of my biggest fans. And I said, Jesse, like, we can't lose on national TV. And he goes, Sarah, you are a storyteller, and every single piece that you bought tells a story. You're going to go on and you're going to tell all the buyers the stories, and the story will sell what you're doing.
Yep.
And I'm like, you're right. You're right.
Knew.
It's what I am. Yeah. And then we sold out and won by a landslide. So it was really fun.
What a fun memory and a fun process.
Yeah, it really was. It felt like once in a lifetime until we were on another one. It was great.
So
Yeah.
You went on another one of the Flip show?
No, we were on BYU Survivalist.
So you definitely are hands-on and have that DIY effect.
Yes.
Which is probably
Definitely.
pretty helpful in the movie business, the magic of television, right? They're kind of
100%.
like your 2 vibes emerging together.
Yes.
So you mentioned about being the storyteller, and I know, like, as we were doing our research on you for today, that's something that you try to, define. Are you an interior designer or a storyteller? But you're both. So tell us where that came into play.
So, in the land of a lot of knowledge that we've lived in, and it's getting even more and more with AI, right? Knowledge is great. I'm really grateful for it. But understanding the heartbeat of something and the story behind it, to me, makes it matter. And so every dresser I bought that had a story, whether it was a family heirloom or like I found it, there's this one where everything was decayed out the back. It should have been burned, right? But it really should have been. But we brought it completely back to life. You wouldn't even know it was the same thing. You wouldn't even imagine. And to me, there's something soul-filling when you can see something so broken and made so beautiful,
It's
And
so true.
yeah, whether it's a piece of furniture or it's a home or it's just a corner of your home that you can tell a story about. And the reason why that's important is because knowing yourself and caring enough about the things around you that it has a story, to me, that's what life's about.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, as an interior designer myself, I definitely also like the whole process of curating and, having a story to tell with everything, not a cookie cutter mentality at all. So I definitely appreciate that. I wish I had more of the DIY type of training myself, because sometimes I feel like I can't get my words out to explain exactly what I'm envisioning. Does that ever happen to you? It's like it's in my head, but
Oh, all the time, because I don't know, do you think in pictures?
I feel like I do. I heard you say it like that, and I do think of life sometime as a catalog of snippets of pictures, and I realize I do. I am very visual.
Yeah. So same with me. If I walk into a space, I can picture how it's going to look at the end. So the biggest challenge that I come into with clients is trying to get them to trust that I can see it and it'll be good
Right.
when they don't think in pictures. I mean, AI has helped that because it's a little easier to be able to give them a quick rendering that's a little bit more similar to what I'm picturing, even though it's never
Okay.
exact, right?
Right.
But
Right.
that has helped over the years versus trying to pull Pinterest pictures that are similar, but they're not quite.
Right.
Or trying
Right.
to just look up other designs and say, hey, it's kind of like this, but not quite. You can actually just take a picture of their room and add a certain style that you're envisioning. And it won't be exact, but it'll give them a good, like I had a client recently that wanted all bamboo cabinets with wood floors and like tones that it's too much of the same thing,
Right.
And when I thought about it, I'm like, oh, it's just gonna look so bad. But you don't want to say that. Hope she's not listening. But instead, I said, would you mind if I pull up a rendering with what you're picturing versus what I think would look better? And she's like, yeah, that's great. So I did it, and when she could see what I was saying about adding different tones and not wood on wood, she was like, oh my gosh, yes, I have to go that way. So I think when you do think in pictures and your clients don't, utilizing tools like that could be really helpful.
So are you drawing it, or are you using SketchUp, or are you using AI to create those images?
Yeah, I just use AI.
Really?
Like
It's real.
ChatGPT or
Oh, so you can do a couple different things because AI is getting so much better. Gemini or ChatGPT. Well, actually, Gemini, I think, just stopped their photo rendering. For a while, you could say, like, here's a picture of a room. Here's a picture of the design board that I created for the room as far as just products.
right.
And then you could say, hey, ChatGPT, merge those two onto the room, and then it would apply those items to it. So that's one way. But I also use Midjourney. Are you familiar
Oh,
with
okay.
Midjourney?
No.
It's a stronger visual tool than ChatGPT, and it does have a monthly subscription. It does take, like, I had to take a training on how to do it. It's not as user friendly as like ChatGPT would be,
Right.
but it prompts well. So like if I want to search for, if I want to create it with certain renderings, like I want a 9x12 kitchen that's farmhouse with navy cabinets, wood butcher block counters, white walls, and subway tile, it'll give you pretty close to that. And there are some wonky moments, but you can, or wonky renderings, but you can render it. Do slight render changes and advanced render changes as well.
That is so interesting because, in a lot of what I listen to and do research, especially for iDesign and even my own business, this is one of the industries where they're saying, AI won't attack, won't hinder so much because it is still so hands-on. It is still so in the field that you still need these tools to bring a full vision to life. So we tried using a little bit of AI here and there in the office, but we still kind of rely on SketchUp.
SketchUp and CAD, the tools that everyone's been using for years.
Yeah, and those are going to be more technical and realistic expressions of, whatever your design is. And that's great, right? That's what you want as the polished finished product. But and people get scared of AI, right? But what I say is we would have just Googled the pictures
Right.
before.
Yeah.
It's no different. It's just a more advanced Google. So it's not gonna source the products for you. Although one day it might. Honestly, I
Right.
think AI will get there one day. But for now, at least, it's not going to do that. But if I can say, give me a living room with a white shiplap wall or a color drenched room with crown molding that's this color, or this height with this color room, leather sofa, blah blah blah, and type it all in like that. If I can show a client that instead
Yeah.
of having to look at 5 or 6 images on Google and say, imagine all these things together while we're sitting in meeting. Well, why wouldn't we want those tools to help them visualize it?
I agree. I think it's a wonderful explanation of it being a tool, not a replacement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about your husband and recycling, and I know that sustainability is a kind of a big focus and core to your business. Tell us a little about that aspect of your business with the
So
sustainability.
You're right. From the beginning, we've tried to use products that are as green friendly while mixing quality. So that's a little tricky in the paint world because some people say, oh, everything should be lacquer, but we're like, oh, it's oil based. It's so toxic. We're not going to go oil. And then you'll have some people say, well, it should all just be mud paint or chalk paint. We can do that. We have some clients who really want that. But the durability, we don't find to be as good as some of the other products, But when we're redoing furniture, we use or at least kitchen cabinets, we use a low VOC lacquer that's water-based. And so it's like, in our opinion, the best of both worlds. So that's what I kind of say. I have a very balanced approach, both in design and in life. Like I try not to go to too extreme, but I really want sustainability to be important. Why would we buy something new that's not made as well in the furniture or any other thing when we could buy something old that can be given a second life, have a unique character, and save things from going into the landfill? To me, that is really important,
Agreed. Yeah, and I feel like so many things are made so much better years ago. We're just paying more for less in this, consumption economy. I think it's really, really special, your approach. So when you tackle design projects, do you start with the piece sometimes, or do you start with the whole vision?
I think it depends on the customer and what they have. So some clients don't have any pieces that they care about. And so then I can really source in something old or say, let's find this one piece in your house and how about we salvage it into this? Sometimes it's that. And then other times we work around like, hey, you don't need to gut all of this just because everybody thinks everything has to be new in a remodel. I was just listening to, and maybe you'd have some insight on this as well, but I was just listening to some real estate specialists saying that they're finding that clients actually don't like when houses are gutted of their original character and put all new. They're finding buyers want things that have history.
Yes.
So I think that is something that sometimes we have stop in and we actually devalue the homes because we don't appreciate the history and keep that,
Totally agree.
We had one client reach out and say, hey, we want you to buy our parents' home. They started redoing it. It's an old brick colonial. It's beautiful. I mean, I wanted it so badly. If I could have money come from the sky, I would have bought this. It was, and I should have at the time. Yeah, I should have. It was, they said, we'll give it to you for $175,000. It's over 3,000 square feet on almost 3 acres, this farmhouse.
Gem.
We've salvaged, I know, they had these pocket doors and fireplaces that they salvaged all the mantles and the thick trim work and moldings. And I tried with all I had, but I didn't have enough money to buy it for cash and have cash to also
do
flip
the work.
it.
Yeah.
So I asked friends, like, hey, can I just borrow this from you? I'll get it back. Like, we'll do this house justice. And that's what the people said. We know if you buy it, you'll do this house justice. And we don't want it just to go to anyone. So we tried, but we couldn't get the cash. Someone else bought it. Well, they put all new tile and didn't put the old molding back in. And
I know.
It made it like shiplap over the fireplace versus like the beautiful fireplace. And I'm like,
I know.
Why? And it went back on the market for $900,000 a year later. And I just thought the character's gone. Like, yeah, you might make some money, but that's not how I would have done it.
Right. I know. I couldn't agree more. Like,
So you mentioned also that you're doing a fair amount of kitchens, and the kitchens that you're doing, from our standpoint in Delray and in South Florida, or even homes that we're doing outside of Florida, most people are redoing a kitchen. They want to gut everything. Let's put a whole brand new kitchen. We're actually redoing our kitchen
Living
right now
through it.
in our own home. And Tiffany didn't want to do that. She wanted to keep what was there, and she's kind of like what you do. She's refurbishing, changing, but we're keeping the aesthetics, but bringing it kind of up to date.
Yeah.
In the kitchens that you're doing, how are you
tackling
those?
Yeah, we specialize in repurposing kitchen cabinets, so we almost always keep the majority of cabinets. Sometimes we have to add a few extra in.
Right.
If it doesn't, if the sizing doesn't work. But people are always shocked. They always say to me, "Oh no, it won't look good if I keep the old." And I'm like, "Just wait till we're done. You will say, why did I want to gut this out?"
Right.
And I don't think we've anyone who've been regretful of that decision. So for instance, I do design of new kitchens where it's not repurposed, right? Like I can't exclusively say, no,
Right.
I won't repurpose for you. But I'm doing a kitchen remodel right now, and it's going to be anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000 for this moderate sized kitchen. All new. Now, granted, we want some funky features like arched cabinetry and things like that.
Lighting.
Right. But our kitchens, when we repurpose, we call it a kitchen facelift. And so when we facelift a kitchen, we keep the cabinets and we just do tile and new counters. It ends up being around $20,000. And so it's just such a good money saver, and it's good for the environment. So to us, it's a win-win. But I know it's not a fit for every client,
Right. And
Now, I'm one of those people that said to Tiffany, "You want to what? We want to what? No, why don't we just put all new in?" And she,
well, the other thing is I find I still like so much and appreciate, as do you, so much of the old style and the character. And I feel so strongly that all of that should tie to the architecture of the house, just like that story you mentioned about the beautiful home that you wish you had. Like, people just go in and try to put the latest, greatest, newest that they think is going to, appeal to everyone under the sun, versus really cherishing and, elevating what's there.
Absolutely. And there's some ways too. For instance, on our Facebook page, the very top video we had is a kitchen that we remodeled where the front had those outdated arch doors. You know what I mean when I say that?
Yep.
Like the typical. But if you flip them inside out, the back sides were shaker. So I said, we can save money if you are fine with the arch being on the inside. You never see it, right? Unless the doors get left open. And she's like, game, let's repurpose, let's do it. And you would never guess it's even the same kitchen. And we just flipped the doors inside out.
It's really crazy, the options.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I feel like, we do this every day, and we do it with passion. You are so much more aware of the opportunities that most people just really don't think of. And I feel like, when you get those wins in client meetings, like, I see it, it's very gratifying.
I couldn't agree with that more.
So during your journey, what is the most exciting piece that you can't that you repurpose? Like, what would be the most memorable?
It's a tough one. I really like the secretary's desk that we turned into a wine bar because it was so different. It's just like when we had soapstone on top for cutting with
so
this
cool
copper sink and a rinse section for cups and a retro mini fridge inside between where you would sit. So for me, that one was like something I've never seen done. I've never, I don't think anyone would think up. And I really enjoyed working on that project. So that one probably takes the cake of my favorite.
are there any projects that stand out that were extremely challenging when you first came upon it?
The broken down buffet where the back legs were totally rotted out, and it was for a customer who said, this was our family's. And I'm thinking, then why didn't you leave it outside?
Right.
But they're like, we want to keep it in the family, but it's been outside for 10 years. So the whole top was The veneer was all buckled. The drawers didn't even open. It was just, I was literally like, how are we going to do this? That one probably was the hardest that we've done there's been hard ones from a custom built perspective, but when you're repurposing something old, you just don't know what you're going to have to do until you're in it,
I know it's kind of like actually home remodeling. I always say to clients, you never know what you're going to open up. I guess furniture remodeling's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you
It's
really,
like a micro
until
version of
you
that.
get into it, what's all entails. So do you have to rely on, different sources too for different hardwares and, just certain tools for crafting and saving and adding or preserving these pieces?
Yeah, so there's antique hardware companies if we want to keep it period appropriate. I would say a lot of ours are not like people don't want us to have antique hardware put back on. They want something more modern and updated. So
Okay.
it could be something as simple as going to a Hobby Lobby and getting some funky knobs all the way
Right.
to like restoration hardware where they want it to be feel more high end.
Right. Okay. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. And there's even things like scrapers that you wouldn't think that they're called carpenter sanders, but they're these metal scrapers, and that's how you distress furniture. But you can only get them online. There's not you can't even find those locally. But it's a weird tool that we have to reuse a lot. But you would never even know it was a tool.
Do you handle any like wicker furniture? Because I know here, wicker furniture, it's very specialized. In South Florida,
No.
there's one place that handles that.
Yeah, we don't do wicker. There's one person that we know locally that does wicker. We'll add wicker to the front of pieces. So, for instance, we had an entertainment center where they wanted every single door to be shaker and
Yep.
custom built with wicker on the front.
Yep.
So we can custom build that, but we don't typically replace wicker on vintage.
Right.
It's a whole different art.
So you also mentioned in the beginning that your husband and you, do this together. Are your kids involved now?
But yeah, they are actually. They're both on payroll. They both, Josh, he's our 17-year-old. He worked yesterday, or he worked Tuesday because school hadn't started yet, but he goes along and when he's not at school, he'll do cabinet door installation or paint with my husband or delivery of the furnitures with him. And so, yeah, he's a big help as he has time. And then my daughter, she does, she actually has a really good design eye.
Right. I was
So-
wondering if one of them would follow in your footsteps.
She doesn't want to follow yet. But I read years ago that to help get your kids involved in whatever you do, have fun exercises like we'll get the newest magazine in and I'll sit down and say, hey, let's go page by page. You tell me the best part of the design and what you would change.
I love that.
Every single time, yeah, it's so fun. And every single time she picks exactly what I would say.
Oh, so
It's
she's a trained eye.
Crazy. Yeah.
Is
she's
Without
really
even
good.
realizing it.
Is there any person in the past or now that inspires you, that you follow or really impressed by, or
Yeah, I really like Jean Stouffer. Do you know who she is?
No.
no?
Well, it does sound
So she-
familiar, though, because sometimes because I'm so visual, I'll know people's work before I really realize their name and put two and two together.
Yeah, she's a designer that is on the show The Established Home on Magnolia Network.
You okay?
And she's based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I just really like her. She's written a book called The Established Home. I like her home value. Like she works with her family and she prioritizes family time. And she actually didn't become famous until she was older. And she talks about why that was okay with her. Like different seasons of life
Yeah.
allowed for scaling up and down. And now her kids are all grown and she's ready to pour into it like she didn't want to do
Right.
when they were younger.
Right.
And her daughter, Grace, she works with her as well. And so I've been to Grand Rapids. I've met them. I've been to their home tours. I'm going to actually be going out in 2 weeks again for their final mansion tour of a house that they have redone. And I like a lot her style. She has a kind of European flair mixed with traditional. But she thinks outside of the boxes. Like, I don't know if you've seen from a design side where they've taken a countertop and they'll split it and then put like a gold
Yes.
piece, a brass piece. That's basically, I saw it from her
Right.
first.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, that's thinking outside of the box. Same thing. Like, I just love when she thinks outside of the box and she brings in traditional, classic design, but with a little bit of a flair.
Right. And that's what keeps it timeless, too. I feel like I say
Exactly.
that story so often. Like, the last thing you want to do is be like, oh, that was done in, 2000, or no, this was done in 1990. You want something that can evolve and collect and, transform and continue through time.
Exactly. And when you go to her home tours, all her family's there, like her sons, her daughter, like it just feels like they love to be together. And I've gotten to know her daughter Grace a little bit, and my daughter has met Grace, and she really looks up to her. And so I think over the years we've really kind of respected and admired how they work together and how their faith is integrated into their work, and how they've grown their business as well. It's just been a real inspiration for me.
That's a beautiful. I'm from Grand Rapids, so I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Yeah, check them out.
I definitely am gonna check her out. So you would say that she's like a big design influence for you?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, originally, before I ever knew about her, Joanna Gaines, of course, because
I know, what a story, right?
right, and we have a lot of similarities. Like got into design sort of similar timing. We were married the same time. We honeymooned in the same space at the same time. Married to like Mr. Visionary, who will just say, "Oh, we're gonna do this," with that thinking about how we're gonna do this.
Right.
And I feel like that's her as well. And so for years I've said, if I could ever meet Joanna Gaines, I feel like we'd be best friends. I feel like we have a lot in common. And so I would say her too. She probably would have more of an influence in the
Yeah.
beginning years, because I thought, oh, she doesn't have a design, and look at what she's done, a design degree, and look what she's done.
Well, I
And it
often
kind of
say you
inspired
can't
it.
teach this. You can't.
I could not agree with you more.
Yeah, I'm
So-
like, I've hired
Yeah.
interior design helpers through the years and everything like that, and some of them can be the most hardworking, great people and great additions to the team, but not necessarily who I could turn design trust over to. It's really something, you're born with.
So what do you do to stay creatively fresh? Are you on Instagram? Are you going to shows, reading? What's the
Go-to.
go-to?
Yeah, so I do a couple things. I actually travel a lot. I blog about our travels, but I try to go places that inspire me from a design perspective. So this year, we went to Budapest, Vienna, Prague,
I can't imagine
Puerto Rico.
the eye candy there. It had to be
So
unbelievable.
you're going there looking probably at antiques and heirlooms
The architecture. I mean, the way that
Right.
they decorate, even the exterior of buildings can translate to how a furniture design piece is painted, or the finish that we use. We did a whole, 2 years before that, I went to Paris and London, and I did a whole furniture. I did furniture pieces based on doors that I photographed in Paris.
Aw.
So I would say, like, here's the door and here's how it translates on furniture. And then we would do a custom painting of the door that came with it.
I love
And
that.
yeah, to me, that's what inspires me the most, is travel and seeing new spaces. But I do like, one thing I like is, say I have to work at night or something. Sometimes I'll have a design show on in the back, because you don't really have to watch it.
Right.
It's there, and then at the final review, or if I hear them doing something I've never done before, I'll look up and be like, oh,
Right.
that's interesting. So I try to stay relevant by like always listening, always reading, always watching, but I don't have a lot of time to watch TV. I don't have a lot of time to read, and I don't want to. Like, my life is full with people and creating spaces that I love, so it's okay with me. But
So where does your process begin when a new design client comes into play? I mean, do you start with, I know we mentioned briefly like the room, it depends, or if it's the piece of furniture, but I tend to like have to immediately start with like furniture layouts. Like, I want to see how space is used. What's your go-to to begin your process?
yeah, we scale up and down. That's something that's a little different with us versus some of, at least our local competitors. Sometimes people just hire me for a 1-hour design consult, and it could be virtual or it could be in person, where I literally say, are you a DIYer? Like, I had a design client just this week, and they wanted to DIY everything themselves. They're very hands-on. And I said, that's fine. Then this design consult looks different. I'm just going
Right.
to tell you layout. I'm going to tell you. And she had all these historic pieces from her family, like literally a Queen Anne's dresser that came over on a boat from England that was her great grandmother's.
Wow.
And so she doesn't want to touch any of those, but we
Right.
have to make it feel updated in the space. So it's
Right.
more, yes, like you said, layout, it's color, it's how does color work with vintage to make it feel updated. And so I created a design board for her from that 1 hour. And it wasn't really like order this piece of furniture. It was, hey, custom build this in here and here's why and how, and close up this wall and then put these vintage pieces here. So everyone's a little bit different, but I would say I always start with a 1 hour and just see, do we need to scale up or are you a DIYer and it's just, you need some tips? And
Right.
I'm happy to do either. It doesn't, I'm happy because I was a DIYer most of my life. So I don't want to close the door for DIYers and say like, oh, your budget's not 20,000. So I won't work with you,
Right. So where do you, when you're not necessarily sourcing, heirloom pieces or repurposed pieces, where do you go to mix in the, upholstery pieces or lighting, or what are some of your favorite places that you source from?
I mean, what I find is I do a lot of different styles. So there's not
So
like
do
a
we.
one go-to, that I always pick, I love mid-century modern. So I love Joybird couches. I love West Elm furniture. I have a lot of customers who really only want me to use Pottery Barn. So I go with that, So
Right.
it just kind of depends on the client. I don't know that I have a one go-to. I like Ballard design. Like one of the clients this week wanted Ballard design for some of their hutches and things like that. So, but there's not really one that I selectively use.
Do you ever go to the trade shows like High Point or anything like that?
I have, yeah. I've been to High Point one time only. I want to go back. It's just I haven't had time.
I know,
but I want
time
to.
is like I was like, when you said you're blogging, I'm like, where do you find the time for that? I've been wanting to do that for many years, Scott, and I've, talked about doing it. How do you find the time to even do that?
Yeah, so I just heard a quote from Elon Musk that said, you have enough time, you give yourself enough time to do, I'm quoting him wrong.
No, but
Let me
I
just
think
say it
I
this
saw
way.
the same quote. I know where you're
But
going
it's
with it.
basically, yeah, like whatever time you give to yourself, that's how long it's going to take you. So
Yes.
for instance, like I do a fall festival at our home where we do open house tours and we have vendors that sell things. I don't sell things really typically at that event, but I decided I felt called to paint again. I don't know why, but I just did.
I could see how you could miss that.
Yeah. And I haven't picked up a brush much. I mean, I've done it here and there, but not much. And so I started and I did a gallery I said I'm going to have a gallery debut with 10 paintings that month. And I started last month and I'm almost done. I have 2 left. But if I had said, I'm going to do a gallery of paintings over the next 2 years, it would have taken me 2 years.
You're right.
Because that's just how we work,
You're
right? So
yeah.
I'm a big time management person. And then I've also learned a lot about business this year and what you can hand off and how you should be handing off as much as you possibly can. So I have an assistant who now writes most of my blogs and then I just proof and tweak because, I don't have
You've learned
time.
how to delegate. Who do you rely on for the business resource, like, advice? Is there certain podcasts or books you've read that you've integrated? How does that inspo
Yeah, so the
come?
most helpful thing that I've done with business so far is I joined this group called EO. It's Entrepreneurial Organization, and they have chapters that are global. Mm-hmm. And basically, they have quarterly training, and it's all about different things, cash management, understanding your core values, things like that. And then they bring in global speakers that talk about everything. And it can be from AI to breath work. I mean, it
Right.
really covers so much, but I've gotten to be on a Zoom call and ask Martha Stewart questions. I've gotten to, connect with global leaders that I would never have even been able to get a response from.
Is it a virtual kind of course or?
So no, most of it's in person, and there are virtual courses you can do as well. But almost everything I've done is in person. I've met the owner of Uggs Boots, and he was fascinating. I don't know if you've ever heard him, but it's got an
No.
Australian accent, and his story is like phenomenal. Selling boots out of the back of his car in California, trying to become successful. And I also didn't know Uggs boots were made for surfers. Did you know
Yeah.
that?
I did
I
because
didn't
they
know that.
got popular in Malibu is when I first heard of them
Yeah.
in 2003. It was, and they were saying it was like the popular because it's cold there in the morning. So
Yes,
when they
that's
come
exactly
out
it.
of I know, but everybody has such great stories, so I can imagine where the inspiration came with him.
Yeah, he was really inspiring. And even this guy, his name is Jack Daly. He does hyper sales growth training and also another book about how you manage your life. And that was kind of life changing for me because he talked about they had these charts that look like a pie, right?
Okay.
And every sliver is a portion of your life. So it could be everything from romance to time with your kids to spirituality to time in your health. And then 0 is the center of the circle, 10 is the edge. And you put how much how much time you spend on each of those slices, right? All the way around. And then you connect the dots. And then you can see like what in your life is not balanced. Because everything's going to be a little more, a little less, right? But when there's one that's getting no time at all, you know as a leader, this is where I need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And my sliver that was a 0 compared to everything else, which was pretty balanced, was my health. And Jack Daly spoke and said, how dare you not care enough about your children to take care of your health for them one day? And that hit me like a rock in the face. And I started working out, eating healthier. I've lost 92 pounds and hasn't even
What?
been a year. Yeah.
God
And
bless.
it was just, thanks. It was such a game changer in my life. And so the EO really has been so helpful from learning how to scale to answering questions, like having people answer questions, because you're in a room of people who are very successful. So you usually can get your questions answered because to be in it, they have 3 programs. One, they're teaching how to go from 100,000. You have to make I think it's 100,000 in sales. The other category is 250 and they scale you to $1 million. And then there's one if you make $1 million or more in gross. So it's teaching you how to build it.
What's the name of the organization that you go to?
Executive.
It's called EO, so Entrepreneurial Organization, and they have different chapters. I think they have many in Florida, but I'm in the Albany chapter in New York.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's really neat. Really neat.
So let me ask a question. If there was a dream project, home client space, what would it be in the future? What would you love?
So I would love to probably. Well, I can tell you because. No, I can't tell that yet. Okay, so
A home,
I
a
would love to
space, a
do-
client.
Yeah, I have a dream for like, I would love to take spaces where you have. This is going to sound crazy. I haven't told anyone this, but little like a motel where it has a lot of different little motel spaces, and you
Yeah.
have the cost effective enough that local people could rent it at a reasonable rate, but still make enough money to cover it, and have like a miniature village of shops that are all locally sourced, like not just little niche things that you can order wholesale. I get the place of those, but more repurposing and reuse and creative and artsy. And I would love something like that. I mean, that's like a dream project. But I also would love to get another historic home and salvage it because, if, for instance, a couple of years ago, we bought a 1895 electric trolley station that was
my
so bad.
goodness.
Yeah. My husband fell through the kitchen floor the day we closed down. And everybody said, you should burn it and just build
Start
a
over.
modular. You'll never make money. But we really wanted to keep the history of that space. And so, yeah, we flipped it over a year and sold it. And I love taking historic spaces that most people would say, what are you doing? Why would you fix that? We were driving around and it's so cute. My daughter recently we saw a broken down house. She's like, Mom, that should be yours. This is what we do. We make the community better by fixing old houses. I was like, yeah, I everyone I see broken down, I want. So
Right? Bring them
those
all.
are kind of my dream jobs. Yeah.
So you do some of your own projects as well?
Oh, tons. We bought a 1802 farmhouse 6 years ago. We had a 5-year goal to redo the whole thing, and we have every single room, every single space. And our goal, we call it the Repurpose Idea House on our blog because we tried to repurpose and reuse as much as we can throughout the spaces as we redid. And we show tutorials about how to redo them. And that's what we do in our fall festival. We do historic tours of that repurposed idea house. So I have to make sure I clean my house that week.
So in being in Albany, New York, how is it dealing with, like here in Delray and in South Florida, we're dealing with, historic societies, controlled by each of the different cities, which you're going through the building department, but then you're also going through the historic department that's basically, in many cases, dictating how and what we can do or can't do. How's that been with you? And
yeah, in New York, it's okay. So it depends. So we've looked at projects in the past where if you want to get historic funds for it, there's much more stipulations in what you can do. But if you do it yourself, unless it's on the National Registry, I believe is the stipulation, doesn't matter if it's old because we have a lot of old buildings here. So we can, even the trolley house that we flipped, they wanted us to gut and remove almost everything. So basically the rule is if it's 50% or more of renovations, they want everything to new code. Well, in a historic home, it's basically impossible to get everything up to new code. Right. And that house was more than 50% of a remodel. So even things as simple as we had a 2-foot wide staircase that went up to a little loft, right?
So crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
to me,
cute.
that was my favorite part about the house. You walk in the front door and straight ahead are these adorable little stairs. There's a kitchen, there's a mudroom, and then straight ahead are these tiny little stairs, right? And so I was so bummed because code came back saying like, nope, you have to rip those out and you have to do this. And I went back and said, I said, oh, shoot, how are we going to do this? And then I was talking to a friend who worked in code for a different county. And he said, you have to push back and say, this is a historic home.
Yeah.
We're keeping an electric trolley station. Yeah, preserved. It was falling apart. Like literally animals were living inside. There weren't windows on half of it. Like, what do we do with this? So, and so there were some things they wouldn't give on. For instance, like I wanted to keep the large windows where there was windows, which was not that many, but they were beautiful. And they said, absolutely not, because you have to have, I think it's 18 inches from the floor to have new code for window height, at least in this space. And so I had to make the window smaller, which kind of killed me as a designer a little bit, like huge, beautiful open windows. Ugh. But in other spaces, they did end up working with us and saying, okay, yeah, we see like this porch has been here for over 100 years. It's fine that we don't have it be Trex decking or, something new that doesn't work with the history and the property.
Some of it here is very tough because there's been a number of projects. Tiffany goes in front of the board and goes to city council and fights for the particular issue that it stays or remains, and she's been very successful with that.
Well, because I think my go back is kind of like what you said. I mean, we're trying to preserve it and make it beautiful. We're not changing it. We're just,
updating
it. So work with us.
And that definitely happens. So, for instance, I'm working on a historic home in Saratoga. I don't know if you know Saratoga, but it's
beautiful area.
Sure. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, one part of the house, one side of the house lands in the historic district. The side of the house, that road is not. So when my client bought the house, he thought, okay, we're going to turn it into 2 apartments from a single family. We're going to extend out the back and make it two apartments. Well, the historic district did not like that. And he fought for over 2 years to get them to approve a design that he could move ahead with. And not the interior design, but like the architectural design. And that is a huge budget law. I mean, you're paying on a house for 2 years that you can't do any remodels for. I feel like there's got to be a way we can expedite that a bit. And they finally came to a compromise, but there are so many stipulations, like the window style, the window sizing, how things are built, So yeah, we do run into it, and certain counties are more sticklers. I live in a county that's not as much, but there are counties that are definitely very, very complicated to deal with.
Yeah. So if you could raid any flea market or vintage store, where would it be in the world?
Oh, that is a tough one.
And you've seemed to have traveled to a lot of very unique places from what you've said, that architecture and design and, is
So
fabulous.
if it's a flea market, I've never been to the Elephant's Trunk. Isn't that in Texas?
I think so.
Scott,
I think
And
so, yeah.
I think from a flea market perspective, I'd love to go there. It's one of those things that it's so far from me that I'm like, how would I get anything back? It would
back
just
home.
tempt
I
me.
know that's what
Right.
we end up doing, saying things like that too.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm talking about my favorite, structure that I've seen that I'd love to like tour and soak up pieces, there's I think it's Matthias Church in Budapest in the in the Castle District area. It is so beautiful. Even the roof has so many different styles. It's not just one style of tiling. It has 149,000 tiles on the roof, and they're all different colors, and they're my favorite types of colors, like a dark teal and a mustard and all those autumny beautiful colors.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I think that's my favorite from a design inspiration. If you walk in that church, there are patterns all throughout the church interior that are all completely different, and yet somehow they all work together. Like every wall you look at, you're like, oh, that's herringbone. Oh no, now they mixed it with a floral. Now it's a zigzag pattern. And I go, how do they match all of these things and it still look amazing? It will take your breath away. That's probably one. But if I were to pick somewhere local, I know I'm giving you lots of answers, but I love this.
No, I love them.
If I pick somewhere local, there's this mansion called Olana in Hudson, New York.
Okay.
And there's a famous painter, Frederick Church, who was in 1800s, and he did mostly landscapes with gilded gold frames. And it's probably my favorite type of artwork. Like that's the kind of artwork I love to do, is like landscapes with gold gilded frames. And he bought this mansion so that he could paint things all around I think it was over 200 acres he bought with it. And the thing I love about it is he is well traveled. So the interior, when you go tour it, he has like design from all different countries. Like part of it you go, oh, this feels like Prague. Part of it feels like London. Part of it feels like Budapest. Yet he blends all of those styles so
beautifully together.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. So that's my favorite local spot to go look at.
Well, I love the way you blend in all of your conversation today. Blend all this different beauty and timelessness together. And we thank you so much for joining us on the iDesign Lab podcast.
But before we jump off, for anyone listening and watching, and they want to learn more about you, where should they go? What's your website or Instagram? Would be
and
great.
your blog.
Yes.
Yeah. So my website's funcycled.com. So it's funcycled.com. And my blog is on there, and there's tutorials on the blog. I also created a custom webpage for this podcast. It's funcycled.com/free, where I do tips on design features that can be easily changed out and update your home. So they can go there if they want. But Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest, you can find me at Funcycled. So.
All right, great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for asking me.
We're going to follow along on your Funcycled journey. And if you're in South Florida, please pop over.
Okay, I would love to. I'll take you up on that.
I would love that. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
iDesign Labs podcast is an SW Group production in association with the 5-Star and TW Interiors. To learn more about iDesign Lab or TW Interiors, please visit twinteriors.com.